After the First World War, the world longed for peace. But the peace treaty that ended it left deep scars. Germany was humiliated, burdened with impossible debts, and its people desperate for hope. Out of that desperation rose a man who promised glory and revenge: Adolf Hitler. While the world watched, Hitler rebuilt Germany's army, defied international agreements, and began annexing neighboring lands. In Asia, Imperial Japan was already on the move, invading Manchuria in 1931 and China in 1937, seeking dominance across the Pacific. Meanwhile, Italy, led by Benito Mussolini, dreamed of reviving the Roman Empire. Fascism was spreading, and democracy seemed to falter. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. Poland was crushed in weeks, attacked from the west by Germany and from the east by the Soviet Union. Then came the Blitzkrieg, the lightning war, fast, brutal, unstoppable. In months, German forces conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. At Dunkirk, more than 300,000 Allied soldiers were trapped on the beaches. But in a miracle of courage, a flotilla of civilian boats rescued them under relentless attack. With France fallen, Britain stood alone against Hitler's war machine. Night after night, German bombers rained fire over London, but the British refused to surrender.
Prime Minister Winston Churchill's voice echoed across the radio. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender."
In the skies, the Royal Air Force fought back, and in the Battle of Britain, Hitler's forces suffered their first major defeat. Across the globe, the conflict widened. On December 7, 1941, Japanese aircraft attacked Pearl Harbor. In a single morning, the United States was pulled into the war,
a date which will live in infamy.
Soon, the world was split into two sides. The Allies, led by the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, and the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. In North Africa, tanks clashed across deserts. In the frozen East, millions fought in the bloodiest campaign of all, the war between Germany and the Soviet Union. By 1942, the Axis advance began to falter. At Stalingrad, Soviet forces surrounded and crushed the German Sixth Army, a turning point that shattered Hitler's dream of conquering the East. In the Pacific, the U.S. Navy turned the tide at Midway, sinking 4 Japanese carriers. The Allies gained momentum. Factories in America roared to life, producing ships, planes, and weapons faster than ever before. On June 6, 1944, the Allies launched D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Over 150,000 troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, pushing through enemy fire to open the way to Western Europe. By 1945, the end was near. Soviet troops closed in on Berlin from the east. Allied forces advanced from the west. On April 30th, Hitler took his own life in his underground bunker. Days later, Germany surrendered. But in the Pacific, Japan refused to yield. The U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, unleashing destruction unlike anything the world had ever seen. On September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered. World War II was over. The cost was unimaginable. Over 70 million dead. Entire cities reduced to ash. Families torn apart across continents. But from the ruins, new hope emerged. The United Nations was created to prevent such horror from ever happening again. The US and the Soviet Union rose as superpowers, beginning a new conflict, the Cold War. and humanity vowed never again. World War II changed the map, the technology, and the very soul of our civilization. It taught us that freedom carries a price, and that even in our darkest hours, courage can light the way forward. If you want to explore more untold stories of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the past still has lessons for our future.